History is full of generals who could win a war, but capturing a capital city is actually the easy part. The true test of power is what happens the day after the peace treaty is signed, when a conqueror has to keep their new territory from instantly collapsing. Take Alexander the Great. He marched his army across 3 continents and never lost a battle. But because he focused on expansion rather than administration, his empire fractured into warring factions almost the second he died. Governing dozens of distinct cultures, languages, and religions across thousands of miles is a logistical nightmare. Without a system to hold them together, the natural state of a newly conquered territory is rebellion. Rulers who successfully held their borders moved beyond military force. Leaders like the Roman Emperor Augustus and the Mughal Emperor Akbar achieved decades of stability by engineering complex administrative systems. These ancient methods for managing chaotic populations provide the structural models for the civil services and corporate hierarchies we operate inside today. Imperial power faces a constant paradox. The tighter an autocrat grips the reins of the state, the faster their subjects resent them. The Roman Emperor Augustus solved this by creating a brilliant political illusion. Instead of declaring himself a king, he preserved the Senate, allowing citizens to feel represented by their traditional institutions. Behind the scenes, he quietly retained absolute command over the military. 16 centuries later in India, the Mughal Emperor Akbar faced a similar problem. He inherited a territory so vast and complex that attempting to micromanage it from a single throne would have paralyzed the government. Akbar divided his government into 4 equal pillars: finance, military, religion, and the imperial household. This ensured no minister could rival the throne. He applied this geographically, slicing the empire into provinces and further into local districts, each with mirrored officials. By offloading day-to-day management to this web of officials, Akbar projected his personal authority into territories he would never visit in person. Even a structured government is vulnerable if it cannot control its own military. Historically, an emperor's biggest threat was an ambitious general deciding to march his army back to the capital. Akbar neutralized this threat with the Mansabdari system, a hierarchical structure that transformed independent warlords into salaried state employees. Every officer received a dual rank. Zat determined salary. Sawar dictated required cavalry. Personal wealth was rigidly linked to military output. Because promotions relied on this math, historically hostile groups integrated into a unified command, competing only for the emperor's favor. Funding this massive payroll required a precise revenue system. If taxes were too high, the peasant class would starve and revolt. If they were too low, the military would go unpaid. The brilliant solution was the docila system. The state calculated taxes based on a rolling 10-year average of local crop yields and prices. This mathematical approach meant that local tax collectors could no longer extort farmers during a bad harvest. By removing arbitrary decisions from both military promotions and civilian taxation, the Mughal state neutralized the 2 most common triggers for civil war: ambitious generals and starving farmers. Administrative math provides structure, but a bureaucracy still fails if the population rejects the ruler's legitimacy. You have to bind the people to the state. In the 6th century, the Byzantine Emperor Justinian unified his fragmented realm by standardizing the law. He compiled centuries of conflicting Roman edicts into a single framework, the Justinian Code, ensuring that citizens across the Mediterranean answered to the same legal authority. Akbar ruled a divided India and took a different approach. He instituted a policy of sul-i-kul, or universal peace. He explicitly protected non-Muslim communities and abolished the jizya, a tax traditionally levied on religious minorities. He constructed the Ibadat Khana, a state-sponsored house of worship where scholars of different faiths gathered to debate theology. By hosting these discussions, the throne projected an image of neutrality. This religious tolerance functioned as cold statecraft. By integrating the population, Akbar robbed religious extremists of the grievances they needed to recruit rebels. When these systems operate as designed, the result is centuries of stability and expansion, known to history as the Pax Romana or the Akbarian Age. We often marvel at the physical infrastructure left behind by these empires, like the stone monuments of the Roman Forum. But those structures were only possible because of the invisible, bureaucratic infrastructure that collected the taxes and organized the labor to build them. That level of administrative organization allowed these states to issue standardized currencies, which stabilized local economies and catalyzed trade networks that connected entire continents. A leader's impact is rarely defined by the sheer square mileage of the territory they captured. It is measured by the durability of the system they left behind. The empires of the ancient world may have collapsed, but their underlying mechanics survived. From modern civil services to tax codes, we are still operating inside the master blueprints drafted by these early architects of the state.